So it's that time again, where we gotta talk about dumb people. So there's this sentiment that's been going around that Funimation censors anime, which is factually untrue. Let me tell you what Funimation does. They dub, license, release, and simulcast and simuldub anime. That is the extent of what they usually do. Now, some people have this misconception that American studios censor anime still. I think that comes from the issue with Toonami. Funimation didn't censor that. Toonami did for their broadcast answers. They censored Fire Force, if anyone's trying to figure out what I'm talking about. But that wasn't Funimation's call. On their website, it was the same the same thing that was airing in Japan at the time. So there was no issue. But it seems that because Sony owns Funimation and Sony's been censoring fan service in their games, like Devil May Cry 5 and some other fan service anime games that I can't really think about at the top of my head, they feel Funimation is also censoring anime now, even though they don't do that and they haven't done anything of the sort since the 90s. Everything Funimation gets and publishes now, despite how you feel about the dub, if you watch the sub, it's the same thing as you would be watching if it was out on Crunchyroll. Now, why you might be seeing some shows being censored is because there's this thing in Japan called broadcast standards. Some things can't be aired on TV. Some things would be inappropriate depending on the channel, and Funimation tends to get that version. The uncut version that sometimes you can find on illegal sites, or in Interspecies Reviewers' case on Pornhub, you are only able to watch that because that's some other stream of the episode from either another country that the anime is airing in at the time, like on TV, or from the ATX channel, which, from what I can tell, ATX is some sort of HBO-esque type service where you have to pay for it to watch the channels. Well, not to watch the channels, but to watch the shows on that network. It's kind of like a streaming service for those of you who don't have cable, but more lame. Anyway, that's usually the version that gets the uncensored versions of most anime, like High School DxD, or any fan service show usually just goes to ATX after a few days. But Funimation usually gets the normal, officially aired broadcast version. I've heard things like maybe they don't do it because they're afraid of piracy, like that people getting the uncensored version in the West and just watching it that way, because, you know, piracy works both ways, but I don't really care. That just seems to be the standard right now, and it always has been for a long time. Crunchyroll, High Dive, all do the same thing. If a show's airing in Japan, they get the broadcast version. Have you ever noticed that some shows look different after a while if you come back and rewatch them? It's because that's no longer the broadcast version, that's the Blu-ray version. And the Blu-ray version usually has better animation, some animation fixes, and it's usually uncensored, unless you're Nesekoi. Nesekoi was more censored on the Blu-ray. It was really weird. But Funimation isn't the one censoring it, and they do release an uncensored version of the material just later when the Blu-ray comes out here in America. The Blu-ray does come out in Japan first, but when it comes out here in America, you can watch the uncut version, and then it also gets released on the Funimation website, so you don't need to buy a physical copy. Not to say that sometimes a studio can't get an uncensored version while the show is still airing. A perfect example is High Dive. They got an uncensored version of this Jet Girl show that came out a few seasons ago, but they didn't air it all the way. The uncensored version had a few episodes out at a time, and they were also a few episodes behind the official release, I think, if I remember correctly. But they weren't all out at the same time, or with the censored version. There was 2 episodes, and then the episodes would disappear after a few weeks. Which was nice, because no one was going to watch that show censored. See, the reason that this is even coming about is because the Higurashi trailer was posted on Funimation like a week or so ago, and I looked in the comments, and then people were like, ugh, Funimation's gonna censor this, man. I hope it's uncensored like the original. And it's like, no, the original was not uncensored. You have been watching the uncensored version, because we didn't get the show until it was uncensored. That was before Funimation had a streaming service. That was before they simulcasted stuff. So yeah, when it was released in America, it was already uncut. There was no broadcast version. But now that we live in the world of simulcasting and simuldubs, there's a broadcast version and an uncut version. So yeah, when Higurashi comes out, it's most likely going to be censored to hell just to fit the broadcast standards. But eventually, it will be uncut. Just don't blame Funimation for something that they didn't do. If you want to blame Funimation for something, blame them for something they do. Like, sometimes mess up in their dubs with injecting political stuff. I personally don't care because I don't care too much about politics in the first place, but for some people that's a huge sticking point. So, get them angry at them for that. At least you can. But you don't get angry like they do it all the time when it's like 1% of the work. But let's not even get into that stupid argument. But anyway, yeah, stop blaming Funimation for stuff that they didn't do. I think this is a good place to end the video. This is a short one, a little unscripted, but yeah, no, this just needed to be said. I need to get this off my chest before I do something else. I'm getting sick of these anime people, man. People get sick of Sonic Twitter, anime Twitter, something different.